Everybody will be starting. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. How are we doing? Good afternoon. Testing one. Is that better?
Alrighty, guys, we're going to welcome Levi Richards as our sheep judge for 2023. He is from Bowling Green, Ohio. He studied animal science at the Ohio State University at ATI. He is a regional sales manager at Kumbach Sales, as well as national sales manager for Formula of Champions Show Feed. He is also an ambassador for Team Lubricant Livestock Products. It's a great product, by the way. I've used it a lot. He has judged cattle, sheep, and goats in 16 different states and Canada, including the North American Royal in Louisville, Pasadena Stock Show, the Canadian Royal, and Western Bonanza. Levi and his family host an annual stock show cattle sale every year, Labor Day weekend, and help young livestock exhibitors throughout the year. He enjoys traveling the country, evaluating and showing livestock of all 4 species. With his wife, Kayla, and their 5 children, and a 6th on the way. If we could give him a huge round of applause and thank him for coming to North Idaho. Now entering the ring is our Class 1 with Kimber. I'm going to butcher everybody's last names, by the way, just letting you know. Kimber Gosway, Candace Waltzer, and Molly Isaacson. Woo! Got it.
Good. Well, good afternoon. Certainly excited to be here. This is my first time judging in Idaho, so I'm excited to add that 17th state to the list. And anytime I get to come to a new place, it's always exciting just to get out and meet new exhibitors and just kind of see the livestock. And this is just a really cool part of the country. It wasn't quite what I expected, and just absolutely gorgeous out here. So certainly excited to be here, and the weather's beautiful. So I think we have a great day here to get us started. We're going to go ahead and start with this young lady's ewe lamb up front here. And at first, I didn't realize that it was more than just lightweight class. This one kind of blows them away in terms of just overall power and muscle expression. I think she kind of fits the mold. Whether you're talking about market lambs or breeding ewes, this one's very sound underneath, just really ideal in terms of feet and leg placement and just overall structural integrity. I like the roundness of her center body. I like her extension up through that front third. Maybe like to strengthen that top just ever so slightly if we want to make her closer to perfect. But I do like her three-dimensional skeleton, just overall base width that she brings out here. That's a pretty easy one to find for me. One that we're going to have here in second in the middle, I do like for her length of body and just overall maturity and condition today. I don't know that she's just, perfectly ready to go to the rail by any means, but still I think very sound and acceptable in terms of her structural integrity. She's very correct in terms of feet and leg placement. I would maybe like to make her just a little bit more angular about that shoulder blade and the way that it sits into her, and then just tie that neck higher up into the top of her blade. But still, she's round enough bodied. She's got just enough muscle mass for her maturity today. I think with more time on feed and just a little bit more time to mature, we'd see that one just open up and be a little bit more expressive with some more time. But I think for today, where she's at, I think she's perfectly acceptable. we're going to round out with one that I think is still fairly green. This one's really sound and has some good pieces, just not quite ready to go just in terms of overall power and overall dimension today. I think she's fairly sound underneath. She's correct at the ground. She's angular about her shoulder blade, where we probably need to change her in terms of her overall skeleton and profile. We need to tie that neck higher up into the top of her shoulder blade just to make her paint a better picture from the side and maybe just give her a bit more elevation into her underline. But still one that I think very three-dimensional about her skeletal build, and with just a little bit more time, we'd see this one mass up and just put more condition and overall substance in all the right places. Let's put your hands together for a nice class here. Yep.
And winning Class 1 out of our Progress Division is Molly Isaacson. And second in class is Candace Worcester. Entering the ring now is Class 1 Market Lambs.
Really nice class as we get into this market lambs. I absolutely love this one that's up front. He hits me just right in terms of his overall build, construction, and style. And I tell you what, I think this one actually has a long ways to go yet. If you wanted to take one and just keep feeding him and just keep showing him for a while, you could probably land at Denver with this one. I think he would just stay fresh that long. Just because of the way he's constructed and his maturity pattern, I think this one could ride for a long time. But boy, today he still hits me just right in terms of his overall maturity and freshness. He's the roundest one about his overall body. He's the most expressive and freshest to the touch over that top. Certainly the soundest and most correct in terms of his overall construction and build. I like his extension, how high that neck ties into the top of his blade. Love his squareness. When we get behind him, he probably does get just a little bit outpowered by the one that's going to be in second, but still think in terms of overall maturity and freshness, I think you absolutely have to tie into that one to win this class. Our absolute powerhouse is the one that's here in second, and I like this guy when we get our hands on him the best. For me, when she gets back out of him, you get to study that front third. He just looks a little bit more compact, a little bit more mature. He's a little thicker necked. He's a little bit deeper about that chest and more forward about that breastplate. Still square enough, still round enough, and just overall just a really powerfully built sheep from the ground up.
And your Class 1 winner, Gabrielle Zentner, followed by Sophia Paliotto and Zoe Rodriguez. Coming back for finals tonight, Sophia Paliotto and Zoe Rodriguez. Entering the ring now, Class 2. Class 2 coming in the ring.
We good? All right. We need to take a quick pause on the action there real quick, but I like this ewe lamb that's going to be third, and I'll tell you what, this one's really attractive when we study her from behind because, boy, she's really wide about her pin set. She's a big-hipped one that has plenty of stoutness from behind and plenty of expression over that top. For me, she's maybe not quite as round about her center cage coming right out of the back of that blade, not quite as just overall fresh and in the right overall design. I like the ones that are going to be ahead of her for being just maybe a notch taller shouldered, more extended about their front thirds, just more correct in terms of the way their neck ties into their shoulder blade, but still I think a really nice, unique individual there for third. I like the one that's going to be here in fourth, and this one's just right in terms of the length of body and the length of spine to get out and travel quite well. He's got some power and shape. He's maybe not quite as round about that center body, not quite as long and elevated about that underneath. In terms of his chest floor, about his extension through his front third, there's some things we could tie together just a little bit more ideally, but still one that I think has a lot of pieces and brings some extra power there. The one that's going to be here in fifth, I really like for his length of body, his soundness underneath. For me, maybe this one gets a little bit flatter in terms of his center body, not quite as opened up about his skeleton, not quite as powerful when you get your hands on him compared to the ones that are going to beat him here in this class, but still I think a really high quality individual and a really nice class. Let's put our hands together for all of them, please. Right? All right, we're on. Yes. All right, really nice class here. I think, when it narrows down to these top three, it gets pretty tough. But, the more you just kind of stand back and analyze them, there's some pieces and parts that you like about our second and third. This one up front is just so complete and bounces up so well. Really like him in terms of his overall power and stoutness, the roundness about his cage, the soundness that he exhibits underneath. When you ask him to get out in motion, boy, he just kind of gets out and trots like a show pony. Absolutely love that one. That's a real easy one for me to find when we narrow it down. Like I said, there's some differences in terms of types and kinds between second and third. For me, the one that was second, maybe just a little bit fresher and more expressive to the touch when we handle them over that top and from behind. Even though he maybe gives up a little bit of skeletal width to the black one that's going to be third, or the blue one, we should say. I still prefer this one when we get our hands on him. Just a little bit more, just fresher to the touch, more expressive, more defined in his shape. To change this one and make him closer to perfect, I'd like to just make him a little rounder bodied coming out of the backside of his shoulder blade and just tie that neck up higher into the top of his blade to really just give him a better silhouette. But still, I think a high quality individual there for second. Young man that's going to be third here with the blue sheep. I think this is one of the stouter made, just more three-dimensional skeletons we've seen so far today. We get our hands on him, maybe not quite as just defined and expressive and firm to the touch as a couple of the ones that beat him here. Still so round about his cage, really three-dimensional, and still gets out and travels fairly well. At times, maybe he gets a little bit looser and more up in his spine. Just want to maybe tie that together just a little bit more correctly if we want to make him closer to perfect, but really, really like that guy from every angle. Young lady's got a really nice ewe-lamb, and I tell you what, if we're just standing back from them and just judging them from a distance, we may move her up a notch or two in this class because, boy, she's very square. Her overall silhouette, I think, is very high quality and very, very fault-free. When we get our hands on her, there's maybe not quite as much overall power and expression and firmness as the ones that are going to beat her, but still one that I think just paints a really nice picture from the side. Is she as opened up and massive as a couple of the ones that beat her? No, but I don't think she necessarily has to be that one to just really go out and appreciate here, because she does really just put herself together quite nicely. We're going to round out with one maybe not quite as smooth in transition from piece to piece. He gets a little bit piecier. He's a little bit more rugged about that shoulder blade. Maybe he gets up in that top just a little bit more and shows us more maturity. If we could freshen him up and just smoothen him up in his pieces, we can talk this one into a higher spot today, but still one you can appreciate from a muscle standpoint. He gives us a lot of power and expression all the way through. If you would, let's put your hands together for a nice class. Really good top five. Let's go.
And coming back from class 2, Harleen Ross and Lainey Tolman. Entering the ring now, class 3. Class 3 Market Lamb in the ring.
Really nice class, and I think it narrows down to these two weathers up front here pretty easily. But I tell you what, just the absolute first impact, the second this one came in the ring, just kind of demands your attention. This one's just really powerfully constructed, really round about his cage. I think his maturity is just right about his front third. He's very sound. He's really complete, and boy, does he profile awfully nice. For one that profiles this well from the side, he's actually really impressive when you get your hands on him. Sometimes you don't get the best of both worlds like that, and he just kind of ties it all together so well. I think the one that is going to be second here for us, just a very logical placing. He's easy to surface to the top two, just doesn't quite profile like this one. It's going to be that's going to win our class, but still one you can appreciate for just being really massive about his overall build. Is he as three-dimensional about his skeleton? Is he quite as impressive about that lower leg as our class winner? No, but still the pieces are there. We appreciate that one all day long. He checks every box that we need him to. Young man's ewe lamb here, I think, just kind of fell into this third place hole. She's very, very nice from the side. Square enough, she's long enough, she's sound enough. Is she as powerful as those top two? No, absolutely not. But I think she's just a really logical one to kind of follow next in terms of type and kind. Just kind of paint that picture from the side, but maybe not be the powerhouse that those two weathers are. Still a really nice individual for that young man. The one that comes next, I kind of called in my head Frank the Tank, because this guy is just so much. He's an absolute beast. He's so three-dimensional, but boy, he's got just so much center body and gut, I'm going to call it, that it kind of pulls away from his just overall look on the profile. If we could clean him up and just freshen him up just a little bit more, maybe make him a little shallower underneath, I think I'd appreciate him and his overall build just all the more. Because boy, he's a heavy-muscled, three-dimensional sheep, but boy, that big body and big center rib that he's got just kind of throws him off in terms of his overall look just a little bit more. I like the look and balance and style of our fifth place sheep. When we get our hands on him, he's maybe not quite as impressive as some of the ones that beat him out here. He tends to just lack a little bit of top shape. And in those higher price retail cuts, we've really got to prioritize, having that muscle expression, that freshness, that firmness right up there. And he just kind of lacks and leaves a little bit to be desired. However, in terms of his overall look, we like this one a lot. In terms of his silhouette, he's even three-dimensional in his build. There's some good things going on here. Just got to power that guy up in terms of his handle, but a really nice lamb nonetheless. Let's put our hands together for a really tough class, please.
And your Class 3 winner, Marin Tolman, followed by Eloise Mobbs and Tristan Pafford. Coming back for the finals, Marin Tolman and Tristan Pafford. Entering the ring now, Class 4. Class 4 to the ring.
Well, I tell you what, two on top of this class that are just super, super impressive in terms of their quality, overall look, and I'll tell you what, presentation is on the nines right here. You can appreciate either one of them, and I tell you what, this one came in first, and I thought in my head, I was like, boy, this one just might be the winner at the end of the day. There's some really good pieces in this one, but boy, when you get this one coming in, looking just as good from the side, and then just absolute massive. I mean, you want to see muscle on a market lamb, you come look at this sheep when he comes out of the ring, because this one's so impressive. He's so opened up about his skeleton, and just an absolute powerhouse, a brick house when you get your hands on him. There's so much to handle there. Where you maybe hesitate about this guy, yes, at times he gets a little bit more compact, a little bit more mature about that head and neck. But I'll tell you what, when you stand back from the side, even being a big middled sheep, he still comes into that chest floor with such a sweep, and just kind of does so and paints you such a nice look, and still has some elevation underneath, and just balances up as good as he does, and maybe even being just a notch leveler from hooks to pins compared to our second place sheep. That just kind of seals the deal and makes it just a no-brainer for me. I absolutely love that guy. He's going to be fun to look at later on. This is a really cool one, and I'll tell you what, if he were my sheep, I'd be awfully proud of this one. We would take a sheep like this anywhere, any show, any day. I think there's a lot to appreciate here. You know, for me, when it's all said and done, you know, this is the one you maybe got to appreciate a little bit more from the side, because he's not as massive as the one that wins. And when you get off to the side of him, he's maybe not quite as cool chested on the profile. When we step back out of him, we maybe just lose that portion of him just a little bit. He gets a little bit plainer coming into the base of his chest floor, and maybe even gets off from hooks to pins ever so slightly. But boy, I tell you what, that's an awful stylish sheep with a lot of power. Maybe not just quite the actual mass as our class winner, but still, I'd still call him a powerful sheep. With a lot of handle, freshness, touch. Everything is right where it needs to be today. Just got put in with a tough class with another powerhouse, but boy, that's an awfully good sheep as well. Congratulations to you. Another one, I tell you what, this sheep that's going to be third here, this is an absolute rock star when it comes to overall just muscle expression. He's maybe just a little bit coarser about his shoulder blade and front third. He gets a little bit deeper and plainer at the base of his chest, more forward in his breastplate, more mature up through that front third. We could maybe just freshen him up and give him a more youthful, smoother look about that front third. He gets even more competitive with those front two, or top two sheep in this class. Still one you can appreciate for squareness, style, power, openness. There's a lot of good things going on here. Just a couple things we've got to rearrange to really appreciate them to the max. I like this one. It's going to be fourth here an awful good bit. And I think it was probably the closer competition between fourth and fifth. I chose this one just for being maybe a little bit more correct when we stand back and look at him. This one's rounder about his cage, deeper about that flank, and maybe just balances up just a notch better with maybe just a notch more expression over that top compared to our one that's going to be fifth here. But I like your really square-made sheep. He's long-bodied and just very well balanced. He's maybe not quite as powerful when we get our hands on him, not quite as expressive and defined about his shape, maybe not quite as low about that flank. It just doesn't balance up as good in his underline compared to the ones that are going to beat him today. Still one that I think is really good in his overall build. Congratulations to you. Let's put your hands together for all five of these, and a really nice class from 6 down to the end as well.
And your class winner from Class 4, Addison Crumley, followed by Candace Eider. In the ring now, market Class 5. Class 5 in the ring.
Do two. Yeah. Good. All right, nice class. And I'll tell you what, it was really challenging maybe getting up into our top five. And there was a little bit of give and take as we kind of had to place them. And they didn't just all fall into order like some classes do. But I'll tell you what, there's no denying this one is an easy winner. When it comes down to just overall muscle expression, mass and power and shape, I think this is an easy one to find. You know, we narrow it down to these two just for their overall look and build. There's just so much more to this sheep up front. Once we get our hands on him, even just standing back and just looking at him, he's just a lot stouter from end to end. I would maybe just like to change him. He's a little bit straighter about that shoulder blade and gets upright on his toes on those front two. However, I actually want to change the same thing about our second place sheep. It almost becomes a non-factor. Really nice sheep for that young lady. Congratulations to you. Young lady's blue or hided sheep, I think is a really nice follower for our class winner. In terms of type and kind, he kind of matches up well. He's still round about his body, really extended, super youthful and long and clean about that front third. He's square enough where we need him to be. This is not a powerhouse sheep by any means. He gets outpowered by a sheep on either end of him, but what's so good about him, he's just really good about his build. I did want to make him just a little bit more relaxed and angular at the ground on his front two, but still one that I think has a lot of really good pieces out here and follows that class winner just so well. We've got a really stout, really powerful one that's going to be here in third. For me, this one's a little bit more rugged about his build. He maybe breaks at that hip loin just a little bit. I want to maybe just open him up about his upper skeleton, make him a little bit more three-dimensionally built, but still one that I think has a lot of really good pieces up here to be able to handle our third place spot very easily. I think power certainly saves this one that's going to be fourth here. This one's really massive over that top and from behind, because there are a couple things I want to change about this one. His rear leg probably being the biggest one. He's got a little bit more set and a little bit more shorter cannon bone. There's just some weird combinations there, and just maybe throws him off in terms of his overall balance compared to the other ones. Maybe just a little bit plainer and deeper about his chest floor and front third, but still one that has a lot of handle, a lot of touch over that top and from behind. You can appreciate one for just absolute power all day long. And same goes for the young man's fifth place sheep here. One that's really round about his body and super opened up and heavy muscled. Maybe just doesn't quite balance up quite as good. Doesn't flex that hock in motion quite as good. Doesn't have as much inner leg compared to what some of the other ones do, especially for being as opened up as he is about his skeleton. I'd maybe just like to make him a notch more expressive about that inner leg. Still one that I think has some great pieces and a little bit more mature kind of package. Got some really nice sheep as we come down the line. Let's put our hands together for a nice challenging class.
And coming back from Class 5, Layla Dees and Lexi Pashoni. Entering the ring now, Class 6 market.
Well, we get into our heavyweights, and sometimes it's a little bit harder, to kind of keep them really fresh and get them to this weight. And boy, I think some of them have done a really nice job. There's no denying, I think this is the easiest one to find, just the most fault-free, the highest quality sheep out here in the class. This young lady's done a nice job keeping him fresh, even though he's gotten a little heavier than what we prefer. We still like this one. When we get our hands on him, he's the freshest to the touch. He's the most expressive about his top shape and from behind. He's just absolutely barrel-chested through that center body and still youthful enough and actually impressively youthful through that front third for being the size that he is. Very sound underneath as well. That's a really nice, just a complete one that's really easy to find for this class. If there was a close placing, it was between second and third, but I'll tell you what, I thought this class kind of fell together very easily. But the young lady's blue or hided sheep, I think just one more in terms of being a little fresher, just in terms of overall condition. This one's just in a better place today. I like him for his overall stoutness and three-dimensional build. Would maybe just like to relax him in his center spine at times and just allow him to get out and just maybe use his joints just a little bit better. He's a little bit off in the way that he flexes that hock and just doesn't quite stay as level up through that upper skeleton. But still, I think on the standstill and on the drive, this guy puts together a really nice picture. Really like the ewe lamb here that's going to be in our third hole. And there's pieces of this one that I like as much as any of the sheep out here. For me, though, a big limiting factor for this one, she's just a little bit too chubby for me today. If we could freshen her up just a notch more, I'd really appreciate all the things that she does out here because she's a big top, really thick-ended kind of ewe lamb. If there's a thing structurally that I'd change, she maybe gets a little bit more upright on her toes and at her shoulder blade if we're really studying that skeleton today. I think you could maybe breed this one and do well, but boy, still has the power to come out here to a market lamb class and give us a really good look. Young man's got a nice one. It's just very complete. He's long-sided. He's big-backed. He's very thick-ended. Maybe want to just tie that front end together just a little bit better to make him better balanced. We've got to shorten that blade and tie that neck up a little bit higher. Probably the biggest thing for me is in motion we notice it a little bit more. He gets a little bit weaker at his pasterns. We got to set him more upright, just kind of rock him up on every corner here to make him closer to ideal, but still one that I think gives us a good look and has some nice pieces. Young man's got a really nice one that comes next. This one's long as a freight train. Gets a little more off from hooks to pins, a little bit longer bladed. Just to make this guy a little bit better balanced from the side. There's some things we've got to work through, like that long shoulder blade. We've got to just shorten up and make him more elevated up into that chest floor, but still one that has some power and mobility for his age and stoutness. We're going to round out with the young man's ewe lamb here. And this one I think is just a really nice, easy feeding kind of ewe lamb. Obviously, she's put on the condition very easily. She's starting to put it up through her neck and chest. We need to maybe just freshen her up just a little bit more today and just make her a little bit more square to appreciate this one to the max. Still an easy feeding kind of project for this young man. Put your hands together for a nice class.
And your class winner from Class 6, Marissa Dreyfall, followed by Aspen Kaiser. Coming back tonight, we have Sterling Dink and Rylan Carver. First class of breeding lambs in the ring. Class 1 breeding lambs coming in the ring.
Boy, what a nice class. I'll tell you what, we've shown a lot of commercial ewes and breeding sheep, whatever you want to call them. We've had our share of them, and my son has had a lot of fun showing these guys. And it's fun when you can combine skeletal with a feminine, attractive look up front and still get them to go out and motor as good as this one does. And she reminds me of one that we showed a couple years ago at Ohio that Craig Beckmeyer called the biggest top, the widest built one that he saw throughout that whole time period, which made me really excited because there was like 800 sheep in that show that weekend. So for him to say that, and then she gives me major flashbacks of that sheep. I absolutely love this one. If you notice, the way she tracks at you, tracks going away from you, she's so wide, yet she stays on the outskirts of her skeleton, tracks nice and true and square. She's huge back. She's really opened up about her upper skeleton, that pin set, that hip width, that top. Yet she's so opened up about her center body. She opens right behind that shoulder blade with such turn. And then in relation, to where the top of her shoulder blade is, she still comes up and gives us just a little bit of swoop. Now, she's not as tall-shouldered as the other ones that maybe stand behind her, but still, there's no denying just the overall quality and freak of nature kind of look that this one gives us, and I dig it. I am way, way in on that kind of look. When we put that one into production, she's going to make wethers that win in high places. I love this one that's going to be second here, and I'll tell you what, if there wasn't one like this standing in front of her, you would think this one could win a lot of shows. There's a lot of good pieces going on here. She's so round about her cage. She's massive and very defined about her top shape. I'm maybe just not quite as three-dimensional and as opened up in her skeleton is the one that is going to beat her out here. Now, if you want to give this one the advantage of just shoulder height and elevation and just overall look through that front third, you could probably talk that and maybe use it to beat that one. But for me and my priorities, we've got to prioritize skeletal width and muscle, especially when we can get them to motor as good as that one does. So she's got to be second, but boy, that's a really high quality breeding piece, market lamb, whatever she is, that's a good one. Congratulations to you. I really like these next two an awful good bit, and I think it's awfully close between the two of them, and it really came down to how their front thirds are constructed, and honestly, that's where it was. I felt like the neck tied a little bit higher up into the top of the shoulder blade and maybe just kind of balanced up a little bit better in our third place sheep compared to our fourth. This one's really square, she's really round, and just gives us a really good look all the way through. That's just a kind of one that just kind of fills or hits everything that we need them to and checks every box going down the list without maybe blowing you away in any one shape or form, and there is something to be said for that. Still a high-quality individual. This young lady's got one that's just absolutely torpedo-bodied and really stout for being this young and this green, and I like a good green one. For me, we've got to tie that neck up a little bit higher and just kind of show me a longer, cleaner, more correct front end and front third to use that one any higher. But boy, I think this one's got a bright future ahead of her. You can show this one for a long time and have a lot of fun with that one. Young lady's got a really nice one here that's going to be fourth, was it fourth or fifth, but coming in down the line, fifth, I believe. Still, I think that just really reads with quality all the way through. This one's stout and powerful about her top shape and from behind. For me, though, maybe just balances off just a little bit more. She's deeper about her chest floor. She's higher about that flank, and just maybe not quite as opened up in terms of her center body compared to some of the ones that get ahead of her in this particular class. Still a high-quality individual that I wouldn't mind putting into production myself. We're going to round out with one that's just an absolute powerhouse, really thick-ended. Just got to change a couple things structurally. This one gets a little more off at her back leg, just the set that she's got at her hock, and maybe just tucks those pins and gets up underneath of herself in motion. But boy, you want to talk about a tough class because we've got quality all the way down to the end here. Maybe just need to give this one just a notch more foot and bone size as well, just to balance her up just a little bit better and give her a better look from the side. But boy, when they first came in and stacked side by side, I really was impressed with the thickness and stoutness that this one has because she really does have it going on there. If you would, let's put your hands together for this class. Certainly a high-quality class end to end.
And our breeding class 1 winner, Addison Cronley, followed by Carlene Ross. Also coming back for the final, Ellie Berger and Ellie Demers. We're going to combine class 2 and class 3. That's coming in the ring right now. Class 2 and class 3.
Really nice class here. Kind of fell together and kind of sorted themselves out, I think, pretty easily. The one that wins, I think, just the most correct in terms of her condition, overall balance, power, stoutness. Love the center body in this one. I think she just kind of looks like a brood ewe. She looks like she's ready to go into production, yet she still has the look and feature of a show lamb and just combines all those things into a really nice, well-balanced, sound-moving kind of package. I think it's a little bit closer between second and third. I chose the one that maybe just had a little more on her in terms of muscle expression and condition today. Does she have a little bit too much condition today? Yeah, you could probably just peel some of that back just a little bit more. But still, in terms of overall stoutness and substance, I think there's a lot more to that sheep. One could maybe just make her a little more correct at her hock and the way that she uses it. But still, it's not going to keep her from being second in this class instead of third. We're going to round out with one that's super long-bodied, really square about her upper skeletal build. Just need to open her up and give her more rib shape, more body, balance her out just a little bit better with more flank, and just power her up from end to end. Really nice class, so let's put your hands together for them.
Mike. Coming back for the finals, Marissa Dreyfall and Jonah Clay. Entering the ring right now, Breeding Lamb Finals. Breeding Lamb Finals right now.
All right, so we've got our breeding females here in final drive, and I'll tell you what, this has been a lot of fun. There's not been a lot in terms of quantity, but certainly quality out here, and it runs really deep. The fun thing for me is we get to name a top four, and I always love when we get to do more than a champion in reserve because we just recognize more of these individuals, and a lot of times there's some that get put in a hard class, maybe fall into a third or fourth spot that would otherwise maybe be in a final drive. So I really appreciate your fair doing that. Not every kid has that opportunity, which is great. To me, I think there's a couple of them out here, or I think really a full top four here that really are impressive. But the one that wins, just an absolute freak show. And if you've heard me judge before, when I start using terms like freak show or freak of nature, it's a very good thing because I love them when we can make them so three-dimensional in their build, so sound underneath, and still make them look like a true show sheep from the side with balance and style and kind of tie everything together in a really nice, well-presented package. I'm going to select that one, your champion, and then name a top four. Let's put our hands together for all of them. And boy, we've got a lot of quality out here.
And your final placing for Breeding Lamb, in fourth place, we have Ellie Demers. Your third place finisher, Ellie Berger. Your reserve champion, Carlene Ross. Your grand champion, Addison Cronley.